Hello friends of the Nutnfancy project. This is of course Nutnfancy, and that's exactly how I think of you guys all over the world as my friends. Okay, in some cases I've had the privilege of meeting you in person. I look forward to doing that more in the future. I always have a great time when I'm able to shake your hand, find out who you are personally, and maybe just take a moment to visit. It's awesome. I just got back from SHOT Show, Las Vegas 2011. And I did that with several TMPers, not several, a lot of TMPers that we met at the show. Great guys, and gals too. You guys are my friends. I consider you just that. And in some cases, it's just been a purely online interaction, maybe just a couple emails back and forth. And then in some cases, probably mostly, a one-way video venture, which constitutes the Nutnfancy project. In other words, I make videos, and you are kind enough to watch them. Okay? And like I've always said, you guys quit watching, I quit making the videos. That's kind of how it works. I have you to thank, however, for what the Nutnfancy project is. Okay? And more importantly, what it will become. Okay? You catch my drift? What it will become. I have you to thank for it. My friends across the world. I'm very sincere when I say that. You should sense that. It's not made up. It's not feigned. It blows me away. I'm humbled by it. Okay? Time to back away from the reviewing table for a minute. Maybe more than a minute. A while. To maybe put the Nutnfancy adventures on the back burner. Don't worry. We will return to our regularly scheduled programming here in the Nutnfancy project. And maybe perhaps bust out another Nutnfancy life philosophy video. Okay? I'm very happy that you're joining me for this Nutnfancy life philosophy video. It's not really a lessons of my father. I may do more of those in the future. Not may, I will do more of those in the future. This is coming directly from my own life experience. Okay? I'm going to deliver it very sincerely. I want to ask a favor to you as well on the other end of this computer, that if it's not the right time for you to watch this, maybe you're in a gear mood, and that's cool. We all get in gear moods, or you're in a rambunctious mood. Maybe that isn't the best time to watch this video, and maybe create a quiet environment in which you can watch it and contemplate the lessons I will attempt and do my very best at transmitting to you via this little tiny camera on that tripod through the internet to your computer screen. And you tell me if they don't ring true in your heart. Okay? That's what I'm going to ask from you. I'm going to call this video Some Kind of Good. Okay? Some kind of good. Do some kind of good in your life. Doesn't have to be something huge. Doesn't have to be something heroic or miraculous or headline breaking. Maybe with some of my previous philosophy videos, that might be the message some take away from the Nutnfancy project. The sheepdog concept, which I still feel very strongly about. Opportunities for us to help others. Sometimes it's very dramatic. Okay? But sometimes those opportunities are not very frequent for most of us. And yet, as we go throughout our lives, we are presented daily with opportunities to do some kind of good. And what I want to promote in this video is you thinking of yourself as an agent of good, that you're capable of doing good, and having the self-confidence in your own person that you can affect change for good in this world. Nutnfancy, this world sucks. Well, I think in some ways it does. But I also think in some ways it's absolutely awesome. Okay, and we live in an amazing age. We have amazing things available to us. We talk about them in the Nutnfancy project all the time, right? Okay, but more importantly, we have amazing opportunities given to us. And it's up to us what we're going to do with those opportunities. And more importantly, it's up to us what we're going to do with our lives. Okay? And that's what I want you to think about during this Nutnfancy philosophy video. Some kind of good. Okay, one of these days, I don't care who you are, if you're a father, I thank you for being a father. It's a very, very important job. I may discuss that later in the video. And I'm going to be hard-pressed to crank this out in 45 minutes. I'm going to do my best. Okay, let's just say you're a dad. I want you to take your children on a very quiet, maybe Sunday or Saturday afternoon, to a local graveyard. No, I'm not going to be morbid, but I want you to consider the lives that have come before us. And I think a graveyard's a great place to do that. And again, you guys should understand where I'm coming with this. I've done this with my own kids, and it's an interesting exercise. Okay, as you go from gravestone to gravestone and you think about the lives that have come before you. They were just like you, by the way, dude. Okay? They were just like you. They had weaknesses, they had strengths, they had hopes, they had dreams. Some of those dreams were fulfilled, some were never fulfilled. They had families, they had failures, they had triumphs. Some died very suddenly, unexpectedly. Kind of like this young lady right here. For her privacy, I'm going to hide her name and all her information out of the paper today. Probably, I don't know, 20 or so years old. Got hit from behind by a heavy vehicle and died instantly. At least that's my understanding. Her life is over. There's something very clarifying about the graveyard and understanding our mortality. We are not invincible. There is no guarantee that we'll live tomorrow. There's no guarantee we'll live to be 100 years old. Contemplate the lives that came before you, or I should say contemplating the lives that came before you, can sometimes give great clarity to your own. What will be said about you when you're gone? Okay? What will people, how will they characterize your life? Did you lead a life of selfishness and self-aggrandizement, where actually when you're gone people will celebrate? Or did you perhaps live a life that was maybe a little bit more outward looking? Okay? And more influential on your fellow man, on your family, on the world, and heck, even on, the animals that were given to you to take care of. All of those things are important to me. I'm going to try to hit on all those in this philosophy video. Okay? What do we do with our time here on earth? Okay? And I don't mean to get too heavy with you guys. Don't worry, I'm not going to get too heavy. But these things are truths. They're immutable truths. You can act like, well, that's nice and all good, but I'll tell you what, they're immutable. You can act like, it's a bunch of hogwash, but it isn't. Okay? It's truth. Do some kind of good. What do you mean by good things? Well, first off, I'll start by saying, and this will be the first segment of the video, is I want you to consider your fellow man. Okay? To look outwardly. If you want to be miserable in this life, think about only yourself. Okay? How can I be happy? What's in it for me? How can I get noticed? How can I be lauded as great or whatever? If you want to be self-centered in your life, I think that's almost a sure ticket for you being miserable. Okay? That's how I feel. If you want to be happy in life, forget about yourself. Maybe look outwardly and start thinking about others in some small way. Like I said at the beginning, it may not be you fishing a stranded motorist that's turned upside down in a river from her car. I still think that's awesome, and if you ever find an opportunity to do that, absolutely, I hope you can rise to the occasion, be the sheepdog that I've advocated for years now, and step in when nobody else will. And I will tell you once again that nobody else will. It'll have to be you. Rise to the occasion and do that. But when I'm talking about some kind of good, I'm talking about the little things in life that will, little by little, establish our character and what kind of human beings we are in this world. Look for opportunities to serve your fellow man. Look for opportunities to make someone's day better. Okay? Story. A sharp young Marine was going through the hospital, going to go visit a relative, a sick relative. He was nearing the wing where he was, supposed to be. And the nurse spotted him and recognized him because she knew that she was looking for a uniformed young man. Grabbed this young Marine, pulled him into a side room, said, "Hey, your father's not doing well." The young Marine was very attentive and listened to everything she said. And the nurse continues like, "Well, he's in intensive care. And we've done everything we can to make him comfortable. But we can't guarantee he's going to make it through the night. It's very possible he might die tonight." Marine went into the room beside his father. And his father at that time couldn't see very well, in fact, near blindness. And he grasped his son's hand, clenched it tightly, and said to the young man, "Hi, son, I'm so glad you came. I'm so glad you're here." So the Marine sat beside his dad all night long, talking to him as the father slipped in and out of consciousness. Hours passed, and in the morning, the sick and elderly gentleman passed away. And the nurse comes into the hospital room and says, "I'm so sorry about your father. We did everything we could, like I told you yesterday." The young man said, "I really appreciate that. I really do, except I have to tell you, he's not my father." And the nurse was like, "What? He's not your father? What are you talking about?" And he goes, "Well, actually, I was here to see my brother who had broken his arm. But when you grabbed me and mistook me for his son and told me what the situation was, I saw an opportunity to help another human being. I figured my brother could wait. And then when I saw that I came, bedside to this older fella, that he didn't recognize me as not being his son, I knew I had some work that I had to do here that night." And so he sat next to that dying man, and who thought that his son was beside his bed. Look for opportunities to serve. Oftentimes it's something little. It's not a big thing. Tomorrow I want you to look for an opportunity to serve. And the day after that, I want you to look for an opportunity to serve. Maybe it's something small by opening a door for somebody. Maybe it's you not getting angry in traffic, of which, hello, I've been guilty of. And I will tell you this too, I don't want to purport myself to be some, saint in front of you. I have just as many issues with this as anybody. Okay? I struggle with these issues just like anybody. I am more than imperfect. I am very fallible. But just occasionally, very occasionally, the clouds, the fog of life clear enough where I can see things as they really are, and that's how I chart my course. Okay, that's how I steer my ship of life, if you will. Be gracious, be grateful to others. When someone does something nice for you, make sure you tell them so. Be grateful for other people and the work they do for you. When's the last time you took, a moment to say thank you to someone who's helped you, even if it's someone who's getting paid for that service? Let's say it's a waiter. They did a really good job. Did you know that is more important to that individual than probably the tip you will leave? The other day we went to lunch, my family and I, and there's this kid out on the sidewalk, and he's one of these kids wearing the sign, that say, "Hey, come eat here." And he's really motivated. He's out on the sidewalk. Funny. That's a hard job to do. You got to be empathetic with that. I just had a few bucks in my wallet, and I told my son, last suspect, I said, "I want you to go out there and give this to that kid. And I want you to tell him what an awesome job he's doing, and that your dad told him that." And that's what he did. How do you think the rest of that day went for that young man on that sidewalk? It's a couple bucks. What's a couple bucks? But more importantly, that someone actually noticed the good job he was doing. It's a dumb example, I know it is, but I know it's true because it happened to me. Look outwardly. Is there some way that we can affect other people's lives for good? Sometimes, too, we underestimate our effect on others. We think of ourselves, well, what can I do? There's nothing that I will do. It's cold down here, but I should put a jacket on. Sometimes we'll say, there's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can say or do that will affect other people, and so why even try? I'm here to tell you that that's a lie. Okay, there's a lot you can do to affect others. In fact, sometimes you think you're not having an effect by you doing something perhaps you shouldn't, and you have a very negative effect on someone's self-esteem, the way they think of themselves, their own happiness levels. Here comes another story. Okay, there's an automotive factory. You guys may have heard this story. If so, I'm sorry if I get the absolute details wrong, but I'll get the gist of it. And in this auto factory was a very quiet worker. His name was Stanley. Okay? And Stanley was pretty much looked at as an outsider in the lunch group during lunch. He kind of sat alone. He was quiet. He dressed kind of weird. And all the other factory workers always made fun of Stanley. He was always the brunt of their jokes. He was just, in their minds, a complete dork. And so they kind of went out of their way to make his life tougher. Okay, and the ringleader of that group goes, well, I've got an awesome idea. Christmas is coming up. I'm going deer hunting. I'm going to make a little present for old Stanley. Guy goes deer hunting. He bags a deer, guts the deer. He puts, fat and intestines and all these gross deer parts in a little package, and he puts them in a box, and he gift wraps it. Okay, and at lunch the next day, he has that box with him, and he and his buddies are just cutting up things, thinking, this is the funniest thing ever. Okay? Funniest thing ever. So at lunch, they say, hey, Stanley, why don't you come over and eat lunch with us today? And Stanley was real quiet. This is very out of character for these guys, but he's like, okay, I'll come over. And they said, Stanley, we know we've kind of given you a hard time in the past, but we got a gift for you. And they slid this box, this present, across the table to Stanley. Stanley looked at it, and tears started to roll up into Stanley's eyes. Suddenly the mood changed at the table. Nobody was chuckling anymore. And he goes, he choked up a little bit, and he goes, I don't know what to say to you guys. He's like, I really misread you. He's like, ever since my wife died 2 years ago, it's been very tough at my house. Oh crap. The guy who gave the gift is thinking. But it's too late. The gift's already with Stanley. He's like, and it's been very tough making ends meet. I have a sick child at home. I got to tell you that life isn't fun at home. And this means a lot to me that I have your guys' friendship at last. And with that, he opened the package and he looked to see what was inside. How do you think those guys across the table from Stanley felt at that moment? To them, it was a big joke, right? That's funny. Let's get one over on Stanley. It doesn't mean nothing. Really. I can guarantee every single one of those that were in on that joke regretted it. It gave them a whole new perspective on what it means to look out for your fellow man. I think we're all guilty of that. Maybe wrapping up a bunch of dead deer parts in a box and gift wrapping it and sending it over to whoever. I'm talking symbolically, of course. But maybe we say and do things that we don't think will affect that individual, when in fact we're very mistaken. And when all is said and done, okay, and we have a gravestone out in the graveyard, I think we will regret it. And we'll look back on that section of our life and go, wow, I was an idiot. Not good. You can have an effect on the very people you interact with every day. That's a fact. If you're negative and downtrodden and you try to spread that to others, you will affect them negatively. People, when they come away after interacting with someone like that, will go, you know what? I didn't enjoy that person. I'm glad he's gone. And by the way, it doesn't have to be in person. It can be online. Why do you think in the Nutnfancy project I encourage comments to be respectful? Because of that. It's okay to disagree. Disagree all you want. That's awesome. But be respectful and be kind to others. Live with no regrets, especially when it comes to interactions with your fellow human beings. Don't regret what you've done. Sometimes that will require that you take the high road. But Nutnfancy, I really want to get back at this person. All right. Travel that road a couple times and tell me how you felt after you traveled it. And tell me if you felt like it was redeeming. It's not. Take the high road. Be a good person. Okay, be the type of person that when you're gone, people are going to miss you. Okay, a great movie that illustrates everything I'm trying to get across to you is called Mr. Holland's Opus with Richard Dreyfuss. Okay, watch that sometime. Okay, and you young kids, I want you to watch it too. And you tell me how you feel after you watch that movie. It talks about a person who lost himself in the service of others. Okay, there's a lot of happiness to be had in that. And by the way, it doesn't, and I kind of alluded to this previously, it doesn't have to happen in person. There's a lot of influence you can affect with these wonderful electronic and technological tools we've been given, and you're watching one of them right now. A lot of my energies in my personal life are 1, devoted to my family, 2, devoted to my friends, and 3, devoted to my worldwide friends in the Nutnfancy project. You can affect a lot of good with these technological tools. And on the flip side, you can affect a lot of bad. It's your choice. Consider your fellow man. It's really important. Actually, it's really important to your own level of happiness. Moving on. Consider your family. Okay? There's a lot of different families out there. There's a lot of different family situations in the world. For a long, I wouldn't say a long, but for a substantial portion of my life, I was raised by a single mom. I don't know if I told you that before, but I was. My mom and dad divorced when I was very young. And I lived between my mom and my dad growing up. In fact, when we lived in Virginia years ago, I used to take a 36-hour bus ride on a Greyhound bus in the 1970s to go visit my mom in Alabama. Can you imagine doing that now? A 36-hour bus ride. Oh, by the way, I was all alone. No adults came with me. My dad put me on the bus. 36 hours later, I'd be in Alabama with my mom. I'll tell you, on those bus rides, I met some really cool people. And I never regretted it. It was very eye-opening. But yes, I too come from what you could probably consider a broken family. Okay? You might have only a grandparent. If you're a young teenager watching this video, and I sure hope you're still watching, you know, you can have all kinds of family situations. You can have some jacked up family situations. The dad left the mom. There was physical abuse. There was alcoholism. There was drug abuse. There was sexual abuse. Okay, all of those things exist in this world. And I like acknowledging those head on. But let me tell you this. Chances are, whatever your family situation is, there are people in your family that really want to be good in their role. Okay, maybe you're being raised by a single mother. I bet you your mom really wants to be a good mom to you. I bet you. I bet you she thinks about it all the time. And I bet you she feels inadequate in that role. As we all do oftentimes in our roles in life. We feel inadequate. We feel like that we suck. We feel like I'm the worst dad ever. I'm the worst mom ever. I'm the worst son ever. Sound familiar? It should, because it's pretty common. When we talk about some kind of good, what I want you to be is the best son you can be. What I want you to be is the best mom you can be. And what I want you to be is the best father, husband you can be. And if you sucked in days gone by, then rededicate yourself and do better. Pretend to be the good father you want to be. What if you're, but Nutnfancy, my dad sucked. He was abusive to me, and I have a hard time breaking that cycle with my own children. Well, break it. You're a man. Don't let the past influence the present. I never did get that, but I came from this situation. So what? Reinvent it. Recommit yourself and do better. Live with no regrets with your own family. I talk about our interaction with our fellow man, and I'm all for that, making it positive and uplifting. But almost even more importantly, it should be our interaction with our families. I wonder what would happen if we talked to the parents of this young girl right now. Okay, the one that just died. I wonder if there's any regrets there. From the mom, from the dad, from the brothers and sisters of that pretty young girl. Are there any regrets? But let's say we talked to her brother. Is there anything that her brother did that he wished he maybe didn't do? Interesting. Live with no regrets. First and foremost, with your own family. I want you to be forgiving with your family. Let me back up. I want you to be forgiving with yourself first. Okay, I'm talking whoever you are, whatever your role in your family is. You may be asking or saying to yourself right now that, again, I haven't been very good at doing it. I've been neglectful. If you're a dad and you haven't provided for your family, I want you to be forgiving for yourself, with yourself, and open up new opportunities for progress. And understand that you can change. Okay? Same as, I don't care what your role is. If you're a son, you're a daughter, and you've said harsh things to your parents, or if you're a mom or dad or wife, husband, and you've said harsh things to your family, hateful things, hurtful things, vulgar things, I want you to change. I want you to do some kind of good in your family. It doesn't have to be a big thing. In fact, some of the best things we can do in our family are actually pretty small. For instance, who am I going to talk to with this example? I'm going to talk to the sons watching this. Let's say you're living in your house. A good example of some kind of good is going and doing those dishes for your mom. Okay, something that she dreads doing, a task that she hates. Okay, go do the dishes. And don't expect anything in return. And by the way, that goes in hand with consider your fellow man. We don't do it to expect anything in return. We don't expect accolades. We don't expect money. We don't expect recognition. We shouldn't. I want you to do it because it's the right thing to do and because it's the right thing for you to do. You with me? Go wash those dishes. Okay? Maybe your dad's been getting on you for mowing the lawn. You haven't mowed the lawn. Go mow the lawn. Husbands, maybe there's a project your wife has wanted you to do forever and you've been too busy. Shooting maybe? Sounds familiar. I'm guilty of that. Do the project she wants you to do. Be a good husband for just one day. In that instance, that's some kind of good. It's better than no good. It's some kind of good. For just one day, I was an awesome husband. Okay? Gold star for you for that day. Way to go. You see where I'm going with this? It's a little thing. And I want you to look for opportunities along the way for these little acts of service. Right now we're talking about with your families. After you do that, I want you to tell me how you felt in the comments below this. Okay? I want you to tell me if that improved your family situation or made it worse when you did that act of kindness expecting nothing in return to your family members. Maybe it was to your brother, your sister, helping them with their homework, cleaning the gutters, washing the car, taking on an extra job to help out with the family, being responsible, not talking back, playing less video games and helping out around the house. You did some kind of good. Tell me how you felt in the comments. I look forward to that. Be true to your role in life. in your family. Okay? Be true to your role. If you have the calling as a parent, as a mother or a father, I would highly encourage you to be good at that calling. But Nutnfancy, I come from a broken home. I never had a model of how to be a good mother. I never had a model of how to be a good father. Well, you probably in your mind have a model of the kind of things you wish your mom or dad did with you. Did you know that that's oftentimes what I go by? Okay, my dad was awesome, but he wasn't perfect. He did things that I didn't like, that I resented. We had disagreements, we had fights, and yes, our family was imperfect. All families are imperfect. That's the norm. You know, I come from a broken home. So what? That's the norm. It's rare there's a mom and dad in every family and they all get along perfect, and Leave It to Beaver is very, very rare. Move beyond it and make the best of what you have. Be good to be true to your role. Dads, take your kids out. What do you see in the Nutnfancy project oftentimes? Me with my boys. Yes, I'm testing gear. Yes, I'm getting out and making adventures, but I'm also attempting to model what I feel is a wholesome father role. So when you're gone, like my dad is gone, died in an aircraft accident many years ago, you leave them with those awesome memories of you as a father. And more importantly, because you did some kind of good with your beloved children, you feel fulfilled as a father. I hear from some awesome team peers that are doing just that. And I've thrown out some philosophy vids, some, other vids like the gun safety series that have inspired dads across the world to do just that. And I applaud you for that, for taking on that fatherly role and making those fun family adventures with your little kids, which will be growed up before you know it, and they'll be out of the house with their own children. And your opportunity to affect that some kind of good with your kids will be gone, because it is fleeting. It does not last forever. You have just a few moments with your children, actually, when you take it into true perspective. Make the best of them. Make the best with all of your family. Okay? Don't take any of them for granted. Forgive those that have made mistakes. It happens. And in some cases, I got to tell you this too, there are some that, it's a caustic relationship. Maybe they're drinking, they're constantly abusive, and there is some destructive behavior going on there, and you may have to cauterize that. You may have to get away from that. That all kinds of good feelings may not change that. I'm sorry for that, and that is a reality of life. I have to acknowledge that. Get away from it, cauterize yourself, and make your own family situation. I don't care where you came from. I care, but what I wanted to convey to you is you can change. That negativity does not have to follow into your own family. Some kind of good, do it in your family. Swallow your pride, press on when it's appropriate. If you're a parent or guardian that feels lost, imperfect, beyond hope because of past mistakes, again, my message is there is hope. You can change and be better and do some kind of good. I got to move on. Time's cranking. Some kind of good. Okay, you guys may not know this. Maybe you know it. If you've been watching the Nutnfancy project for any length of time, the message has come through loud and clear, I think. But I'm going to spell it out for you right here. Is I want you to consider the earth. Okay, not in some fruity, holistic way. I'm talking practical environmentalism, if you will. Okay, remember I told you I grew up between two parents. I can thank my sweet little mother, who will probably watch this video, who I love to death. She is so sweet. I can thank her for cluing me in what it is to be a good steward of Mother Earth. Okay, I'm not getting crazy on you guys, so don't think that. What I'm saying is that we should leave this earth at least in as good a shape as we found it. Okay, when I go shooting out in the desert and I have shell casings laying all over the place, I don't walk away and leave those shell casings. I pick them up. I don't drive down the highway and shoot signs up. Yeehaw! You know, I don't throw garbage outside my window as I'm driving. Okay, I don't leave messes wherever I go and just laugh about it and think everybody will and should clean up after me because I'm ultra special. I think that is the absolute, opposite of being gracious and grateful in this life. And it's destructive. And it's idiotic. When you go out adventuring in the wild, we need to sustain those wild places. We need to take care of them. Okay? What kind of place are we leaving for future generations? Do we have a disposable attitude? Okay, I'm just going to go out there and just trash it. And how many places have I gone shooting where there's television screens sitting out there, computer monitors, sofas, garbage of all kinds? Remember when we shot with Arsenal down in Las Vegas? The place that we went out shooting in Vegas was like that. There was trash everywhere. It was everything I could do to get a clean shot, trying to get away from all that garbage. How do you feel when you go to a place like that? Do you dig it? It's kind of like going into a bathroom stall in a public restroom and it's filthy. The toilet's not flushed. There's pee all over the place. There's toilet paper on the floor. Do you like going into a stall like that? Well, no, Nutnfancy. I hate it. Everybody hates it. Okay, so why would you leave the earth in that type of condition for someone else following you? Okay, I've gone out with youth groups before in the woods, teaching them survival skills and stuff. I will do so in the future. And one of my key principles I have is, one, consideration for your fellow man. In other words, if there's people camping next door, don't be hooping and hollering at 2 in the morning and waking those nice people up, just like you wouldn't want someone doing that to you. Teaching that, and also consideration for the earth. Don't go hacking down live trees with your blades, carving into trees, making all this damage that will stay there for generations. But Nutnfancy, I've seen you hack down trees all the time. Dead trees out in the middle of nowhere. Okay, I wouldn't even hack down a dead tree if it's nearby. It's out in the middle of nowhere. And it's thoroughly dead. The exception to that would be if I'm maybe very sparingly teaching survival craft of one sort or another and I have to use a piece of live wood to do it. It's very rare I do that. And of course in emergency survival situations, you'd have to do it. Okay, I hate that attitude. The world is my oyster. I'll do whatever I want with it. You know, if the world is for me to use and abuse, suck it. I do not like that mentality. We do not have that in the Nutnfancy project. When you go to a place that we've camped, you will not even know we've been there. You know, if there's a fire ring, that's probably one that was already there. In certain cases, we'll make a fire ring out in the middle of the wilderness, but I'll do my best to conceal it after we're gone. Respect living things, respect animals whenever appropriate. Okay, and that's another part of consider the earth. Your interaction with the animals which are in your stewardship. Allie the mountain dog would be a good example. We waited forever to get a dog in the Nutnfancy family. Why is that? Well, I'll be honest with you. Okay, I'm going to get real with you guys. This whole video has been about that. One is I don't look forward to the day when she dies. Okay? And to have that emotional chunk taken out of us, I dread that. The dogs' lives are so short compared to our lives, and I dread it. And it took me a long time to be emotionally ready for that. Okay? My wife and I, Mrs. Nutnfancy, talked about it for years, and we finally decided we're ready to take on that emotional commitment. But most importantly, we're ready to take on the commitment of animal stewardship. The character of a man is often revealed in his or her interactions with a helpless creature. Someone who's highly and totally dependent upon you. Oftentimes the character of a human being will be shown. If they are cruel or neglectful, then it says a lot about that person, doesn't it? Because you have absolute power over that animal. How does that person interact with that animal? Are they kind and considerate? Do they go out of their way to give the best life they can to that animal? I'll tell you what, here in the Nutnfancy project, and I'm not putting myself up to be some perfect pet owner, but I take it very seriously, giving Allie the best life I can give her. I want to live with no regrets. When Allie passes away, or if she becomes injured and can no longer function in the Nutnfancy adventures, I want to look back and say, girlfriend, I did the best I could with you. I was the best dad to you that I possibly could be. Our interaction with animals tell a lot about our character, and we should be good stewards to our animals and kind with them and take care of them and give them exercise and good food and health care when it's appropriate. Sorry if it sounds preachy. Sorry, but that's how I feel. Take care of your animals. Take care of the earth. Be an agent of good. Do some kind of good with your dog tomorrow. Play with your dog. Talk to them. Or your cat. Yes, even a cat. Your hamster. Whatever. Whatever you have. Your gerbil. Do you have a gerbil? Be a good steward to your animals. Give them a life that gives them joy. You know, Allie's joyful when she gets out and adventures with us, so I look forward to adventuring with her. Consider the earth. Okay? Sorry. That's how I feel. If you disagree. Understood. I gotta wrap it up. I'm running out of time. I want you to consider yourself an agent of good, capable of doing some kind of good. Something that will make this world a better place. I want you to consider your fellow man. On your online interactions with one another, what you say, what you type influences other people. Think about it. If you're pissed, we all get that way sometimes. Don't type. Let it sit for a bit. Type later. It's okay to disagree. There's nothing wrong with that. We're all going to disagree with one another sooner or later, right? Be respectful. Be kind with each other. If you have any kind of influence, try to promote good. That's what I'm attempting to do right now with this video. Okay? Some kind of good. Live your role in life, especially in your families. If you're a mom, a dad, a son, a brother, a grandfather, be the best grandfather you can be. Be the best dad you can be, the best mom, the best guardian, the best aunt, uncle. Be the best friend you can be. So when you look back on that relationship that you were lucky enough to have, do you hear me? You were lucky to have that relationship. It's a privilege you had that relationship. That you look back and go, you know what? I feel pretty good how I did that. Instead of, doggone it, man, I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have done that. Okay, and don't rush your phases in life. Okay? Enjoy each phase of life what it is. You know, if you're 16-year-old, be a 16-year-old. Have fun doing that. Go out and play. Go out and live life. And don't just stay online all the time. There's a message in the Nutnfancy Project is that, yes, I want you to get down and watch the Nutnfancy Project and maybe get inspired to go out and do your own adventures. Have that fun and cool gear that will serve your good purposes, increase your personal security in hard times. I'm all for that. We'll talk much more about that in the future. But afterwards, I want you to park the computer. I want you to park the video games and get out and live life. Go interact with your fellow man and go make a difference in life. If you have influence, if you're lucky enough to have influence in any of these things that I've talked about, I want you to use it wisely. Okay? I want you to inspire some kind of good. It may or may not be rushing into a building, burning building and rescuing somebody. Maybe it will be. I don't know. More likely it will be your daily interaction with your fellow man. Okay? Are people happier from interacting with you? Are they laughing? Are they more jovial? Do they think better of themselves? Or is it just the opposite after they've had a chance to find out what you're about? Some kind of good. Rededicate yourself and go do some kind of good out in the world. And you tell me if that's not real happiness. Okay? Look outwardly, just don't look inwardly at yourself. We've all been guilty of that. Look outwardly. and get out and live and do some kind of good. Time's up. This is Nutnfancy Philosophy Video. I still consider you my friends, valued friends around the world. See ya.